Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining our 7th Women in Animation Bay Area Chapter YouTube Q&A. We hope with this series to provide education, resources, and a little bit of entertainment to the amazing women, transgender, non-binary, and underrepresented gender identity communities who want to pursue and thrive in the animation industry. So please subscribe and put down topics or questions in the chat you want us to talk about, and we will do our best to answer them. Today, we're chatting with Vrinda Zaveri. She's an incredibly talented illustrator, animator, and designer who worked for giants like Google, eBay, Disney Publishing, Medium, Chronicle Books, and you name it, and many more. So, hi, Vrinda.
Hi, Mitra.
You wanna tell us a little bit about your journey into getting to where you are right now?
Yeah, for sure. I grew up in Mumbai, India, and I liked drawing as a child. And I would draw with my mom, and she was very encouraging. And she encouraged me to keep making art. And then when it came time to decide what I wanted to do, both of my parents were super, super encouraging of me to pursue the arts. So I decided to go to art school. And I wanted to go into fine art. But when I got to art school, I realized there's so much more, so many more kind of majors and design fields that you can go into. So I chose illustration. And then a few years later, I decided to also do animation. And then I graduated from Rhode Island School of Design. That's where I went to school, and moved to the Bay Area to freelance. And when I started to freelance back then, it was really, really hard. I struggled a lot. And then so I found a job at a studio in Berkeley called Roguemark Studios, an amazing place to work. And after that, I kind of was freelancing along with my job. And then I worked at Google, also still freelancing along with my job. And I kind of just kept freelancing on the side till about 10 months ago, 11 months ago, I decided to freelance full time. And it was still intimidating and scary because I had had that experience in the past and I had not enjoyed it. I was super stressed out the entire time and didn't know where to find work or how to approach it. And this time I decided to get out of my own way and listen to people who have done it successfully and really try to do it instead of doing it on the side and kind of figuring it out. I'm still figuring it out as we go, but yeah, that's kind of what brought me to freelancing.
That's awesome. It's super scary to be freelancing personally for me because it's like you don't know where work is going to come from. You don't know if you're going to, because you're not on a constant like day to day, like, exactly you're going to work, you're going to do this and you're going to come home. And it's not like that. So it must be like a kind of big unknown area. I've had some freelancing experience in the past. So I did the good old Craigslist, post what I can do and see what happens through when I was a student way back when. But yeah, so you mentioned like getting out of my own way. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, I think when I started freelancing, I think I was intimidating myself. And I think that's kind of the case with everybody who's trying to freelance. It is very, very scary. And there are still times when I am scared too, because the process of looking for work, reaching out to people, negotiating contracts, getting the contract, making the work, getting the invoice, sending the invoice, all of that process is, there's usually people who are dedicated to those jobs. But this kind of freelancing means you have to do all of it. And so it was super intimidating. I think the hardest part about me was I really like stability. So the idea of not knowing what I'm going to work on, when I'm going to work, was really, really scary. And I kept kind of like spooking myself. Like I would kind of like think about the worst case scenario, think about, I'm not going to find work. Like I'm not going to get hired. And that kind of me spooking myself, I was kind of getting in my own way. I was not letting myself put in the time and do the things that would help. Instead, I was kind of just letting my fear stop me from doing anything, stop me from reaching out to people, stop me from asking other freelancers who are successful how they started their journey. And so a huge part of this year has been me getting out of my way and really embracing the ups and downs of freelance and kind of going with the flow and just trusting in myself that I'll figure it out. If there's no work, I'll find some. If there is work and there's a lot of it, I'll find a way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to schedule everything yourself. You have to like figure out your invoice. You got to figure out how much to charge. You got to figure out where to find the clients. There's like a billion things you got to do on top of also creating awesome work for all these huge companies. So is there something that you did specifically that made you get out of your own way? Like it's very interesting how you put it, because I feel like I'm in my way all the time. For anything. It's just like, I'm going to empty the dishwasher. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do it right now. I'll do it tomorrow morning. And it's like next week. Anyway, is there something that you do specifically?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was talking to people in the animation industry, or even illustration industry, talking to people who either do what you do or can help you do what you do. I think it helped me because I had all these fears in my mind of like, how does this work? Like, do I just send an email to this person? Will they respond? Like, do I just apply to this freelance gig? So I had all these questions of like, I didn't know what the right way of doing it was and like what the next step would be. And so instead of kind of internalizing those fears and not talking about it, I would reach out to people that I admired, reach out to people that I knew had worked on projects that I wanted to work on in the future, and just ask them, it's like, this is a fear I have. This is a thing that I don't know how to do yet. How did you approach this? Have you encountered this before? And talking to people has been one of the most helpful things for me. And it's surprisingly been, even easier to do so with COVID, because everyone is, interacting virtually. So I've been kind of asking people I've worked with or asking people that I want to work with if they would, have the time to chat virtually for like 30 minutes, like grab a coffee and just kind of ask them about what their journey is and like how they started freelancing, kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
More specifically, kind of asking about what I feared and what was holding me back from committing to this kind of type of work. And doing that helped me get out of my own way and kind of find answers to those fears that I was just like internalizing and not talking about.
Sure. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to freelance but don't know where to start, right? It's like, how do I start? I mean, for getting a job, you can always like, send a resume. That's like where you can start. But so can you talk a little bit about like your step-by-step process on how you even began freelancing? When you just said, I want to freelance, and what was like the next thing you did? And I know you mentioned like you spoke to other people who went through this and who are freelancing today. And so that's one step, right? Do you want to like a little bit step by step it?
I think, so I had been freelancing kind of alongside my jobs for a while. So I did have some experience, but I had never reached out to people. I always just took on a job because somebody reached out to me. And that was like, and it was very infrequent. And because I had a job, I was like, it's fine. It's like once every 3 months, once every 4 months. And I didn't really like go out of my way to find more work. But when I decided to do it full time, one of the things that a lot of people have given me advice on, and I have also known is like really helpful, is to two things. One, make a list of people you want to work with. And this list can change and evolve, but having that list is super helpful. And two is to define what is your version of success. So at the end of the day, where do you want to be able to say, I am a successful freelancer? And that differs from person to person. I think when I first started, the mistake I made was that I had a very vague idea of what I wanted to achieve. And because the idea was vague, I was never ever successful because I was always like, oh, but this is not, I don't know if this is what it is. I don't know if this is what it is. So I kept kind of not realizing what what success as a freelancer means to me. So I think for me, it has been as long as I have a project to work on freelance wise, I am successful. So as long as there is a project that I'm working on that is paying me, I am a successful freelancer. I have friends who do most of their freelance through Instagram, and for them, success was gaining a following on Instagram because uh, that's how they do their freelance business. So that was kind of their goal of success or their standard of success. So setting that for yourself is super helpful because you know exactly what you need to spend your time towards. Since having a project to work on was my kind of version of success, I dedicated my time to like reaching out to people that I wanted to work with, reaching out to people who I knew were hiring illustrators and animators, cold emailing, asking people I knew if they knew people, kind of just letting people know that I'm a freelancer, like responding to threads on Twitter, a whole bunch of things. But all of those things kind of fell in line with my goal, which was to be on a project at all times. And depending on what your goal is, those things change.
Wow. So reaching out to people and cold emailing. I know we spoke in depth about it in our previous conversation. I would love to bring some of that back to this combo right now. You were talking about how you reached out to some people, but they didn't get back to you for like months. But eventually they did. So that's like fascinating to me. Like how I feel like a lot of people hesitate to like cold email because it's like, oh, they're not going to read it. I'm a bother or whatever it is that, we might be getting in our own way, like when we want to freelance. So I wonder if you can give some tips about what your approach was. And then if I should ask this like cheesy question, how did you find the courage?
No, I mean, it does take courage. I think it's like a lot of the anxiety of being an artist is like sharing your work. And this is like the highest form of that because you're like, here's my work, please give me more work. And so the idea or the thought of rejection at that point is super scary. So, and that is what was keeping me from doing it too. I was super intimidated of cold emailing. But I kind of just gave myself a challenge to send 10 emails every week. This is when I had no work. So that's all I did was just like, make a list of people I want to work with. Do some internet sleuthing and find the names of the art directors and find either their personal email or their business email and just draft a short email, super short, be like, this is who I am. For me, it was always, I am an illustrator originally from India. I live in San Francisco and I would like to work with you. This is why I want to work with you. And here's some samples of my work that I feel fit your brand and your company best. And I did that for both illustration and animation jobs that I wanted. And a lot of the times I got no response. Sometimes I got immediate responses, which was super exciting. But it was like, I think the average rate of response is 1 in every 8, which is not a bad.
That's great.
That's really good. And that's not for me. That's just like freelancers have kind of all come together and said that 1 in 8 responses is usually their average. And some of them were always like, I'll keep you in mind for the future, which is also great. So I just kind of remind myself to email them in a couple of months. Some of them would not respond, but I knew that they read it. So that was a great bonus. And some of the emails just kind of went into the abyss. And so I kind of looked into whether the art director still works there, if they have another email they prefer to be contacted at. If they don't want to be contacted, then I would just follow them on Instagram. And hope to God they follow me back. So yeah, I think there's like a whole bunch of ways to kind of start the process, but I think the key is to not be intimidated.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any like a moment when you were like sending an email and you weren't sure and you actually got a response? Like, do you have a mini story about that at all?
I do. So I
Yeah.
really wanted to work with Pop-Up Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
They're a magazine in California, and they do a lot of brand work as well. And I had seen their work, and I really, really wanted to work with them. So I went on their website, contacted the art directors there, and I got a response. It's like, I will keep you in mind. And I was like, cool, that's okay. I'll just let it be. And I got caught up in my life, and 6 months later, they responded with a project. Um,
That's
and
so cool.
yeah, which is super cool. And it wasn't, I think, I wasn't, I wouldn't say it was satisfying because I didn't expect it, but I think it was satisfying because it's like you don't know what you're going to do today that's going to help you out later.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's reaching out to people, sending emails, just casually chatting with someone you admire, like all of those connections, even though they may not seem like a professional business connection, they can lead to work, and they can lead to referrals. They can lead to you know, you finding out that you know, another person to connect with, or them referring you to another artist. So all of those things are super important and totally worth it.
That's really cool. So, do you have any systems then now, like set in place for you to kind of, have everything that you have, like all the work? I'm sure now that you've sent all these emails and you're right now, your freelancing, your freelancing business is fully going full
Mhm.
speed. So, do you have any systems of putting them like one after another, or how to keep yourself on track? Anything that could be helpful, and like anything specific that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I try to schedule my days, whether I'm on a project or not. That helps me one balance when I'm on multiple projects, and try to figure out like what is a priority and what needs my attention. Um, a lot of this I do on I have a Google Calendar
Mm-hmm.
for that's attached to my business email, and I just kind of fill that up with things I need to do, meetings I have, other commitments, and that kind of helps me organize my day. And if I know that I'm not going to have a project, like when I say wrap up a project and have a few days of downtime, I kind of split that time up into vacation time, and
Nice.
also setting some time aside to send out more emails.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just having kind of a calendar system has been super helpful for me, so that I know what I need to work on. I kind of just schedule my week ahead of time. So Sunday night, I just spend 10 minutes while I'm watching TV to like fill in my calendar with things I have to do next week. Um, and yeah, that usually keeps me on track.
Yeah. Are you a to-do list person?
I am a to-do list person.
Yes. To-do lists rock.
I love them. I have this huge long list of things I need to do in a day, and I just love crossing them off. And
So satisfying.
and it's I put the smallest of things on there. I put on like email this person on there,
Yeah.
and it's really helpful to have that list to guide you through your day, and just to make sure that you get everything done. And the feeling of accomplishment at the end of that list is totally worth it, and
Yeah.
it makes you feel like your job, because
Mm-hmm.
as a freelancer you don't really have coworkers or a manager that's helping you stay on task, and celebrating your goals with you. You have to do that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, I know that you have a really cool
Yeah.
to-do list.
Yeah. So I have this little technique that I do, that I have been doing it for the past few years, and I wrote it down for you all to see. It's
Awesome.
it's like it's just a little notebook. You don't need anything fancy. You just write to do, and then you draw a line from to do to the bottom of the page, and then you put on the bottom of the page whatever it is that is your you can say like life goal or like a big goal, whatever goal that is. Maybe you're working on a project. You'll be like the end of that project. Anything like that massive thing that you're always afraid of, you just put that down there.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that's related to that, you just kind of write it on that to-do list like this, on that line. Ugh, I don't know if people can see. I can't see myself, so
You can see. You can see.
hopefully this makes sense. And then anything unimportant, like I don't know, laundry that like lands on the sides, like in like sad little bubbles, not on the big to-do tree. So this helps me to like not do unimportant things first and try to be like, I can't work today. I can't get this done because I have to, I don't know, water the plants. Like I don't want to do that, right? So I make sure that I have to like cross the tree objects before I go into the side unrelated bubbles. And those bubbles can contain things like email this random other person that you didn't even, it's not necessarily aligning with that big goal. So that really helped me do a lot of things
That's
in
awesome.
life and make sure I get there.
Yeah, I know that for the longest time, the goal at the bottom was to be at Pixar, and you are at Pixar, so this works.
Yes. Don't tell them that.
It works. It's a success story. It's like a total like, it's good to celebrate those things and to remember that like everything you're doing right now is going to pay off.
Yeah. That's, I mean, it's easy, I feel like, in our day-to-day life to do things and feel like you're doing things, but you're not really doing anything. You're just doing random things that serve any big purpose. Not that everything needs to be this giant big thing that you're working on, but it really kind of helps to refocus and recenter yourself and be like, wait, what was I doing? What am I here for? Why did I wake up today? It's kind of to have you, reorient when you're starting to drift off and play Breath of the Wild for like a million hours. So anyway, yeah, that's good. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, there's a pandemic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's bad.
The elephant in the room. Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
Yeah, but is there any kind of things that you do? I mean, I know we talked about like to-do lists and keeping things on track. Is there anything that you do that is helpful to keep you going during this time, with that, when you don't have a lot of, I don't know, coworkers to work with? I don't know if you have coworkers. Do you?
I do not have coworkers. I mean, in my freelance life, I don't. When I'm working, like right now, I'm on a contract with Facebook, so I have coworkers at Facebook that are amazing. So whenever I'm working with a team, I have that team, and I kind of try to do my best to stay in touch with people, especially since I'm working, remotely. I talk to my friends very often. My best friend lives in New York. She's also an animator. And so we talk all the time. We like FaceTime each other, talk about projects, talk about random stuff. She shows me her cat, who is super cute. So yeah, it's, I think, kind of making sure that you have friends and people that you can talk to talk to about all this stuff is really important. Because sometimes they have had experiences, or they have some business experience or something that can help you out. Like I was talking to one of my partner's friends, and he showed me this invoicing system that he uses, where you don't have to email the invoice or anything. You just kind of enter in the amount, and the system kind of sends your invoice for you. And it's helped me so much. Like it's cut down the amount of time I have to spend like making an invoice on, Illustrator, and like formatting it and sending it out. And I think those little things can really help save you time and help you focus on the things that you really, really want to work on.
Hi, one sec, Vrinda. We're aware of some buffering, and we hope you stick around while we try to resolve this.
Oh no.
And we will continue to talk, but we wanted to let you know that we're
Okay.
aware some stuff is going on.
Okay.
Anyway, Vrinda, you know what we didn't talk about? We
Uh-huh.
didn't talk about your awesome Google Doodles.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. Yes, you want to talk about how that experience was for you? I remember you having lots of joy
Yeah.
working on that. And
It was
then Rogue Mark
amazing.
comes after that I want to talk about still.
Yeah, it was amazing. Working at Google was amazing. The team is amazing. They're super, super supportive. They helped me. I was a pretty young graduate when
Mhm.
I was working there, and they helped me, you know, kind of get a handle on my skills and make me confident in my abilities and help me grow. And like I also learned about how they work with freelancers and kind of gleaned a lot of notes for myself, to be super communicative and to make
Mhm.
sure that when you commit to a deadline, like you have to meet the deadline and
Yeah.
things like that, um, as a young professional you don't know is super important, or it's important but you don't know it's super important. So working at Google was like it was the best job. I worked on the Google Doodle team, and uh, got to work on really fun illustrations, and yeah, it was
That's
amazing.
that's awesome. And I remember you talking to me about how awesome it was to work with Rogue Mark. You were
Yes,
talking about how that was like a life-changing experience for
it
you. And I
was. It
can't wait to
was.
hear about more about it.
So, Roguemark is an amazing team of, I think we were 6 to 7 women, and we did everything. We did from script writing to storyboarding to illustrating to animating to editing to sound editing
Hmm.
to packaging everything, sending it off, everything. And it was life changing for me because I got to work on such a wide range of projects, and I got to
Hmm.
kind of be part of every stage of the process. Um, that was all possible because Roguemark was a super transparent work environment. So we talked about everything. We talked about, contracts. We talked about how we were kind of charging and how to make sure that we follow up on invoices. And it was kind of like a boot camp in
Hmm.
freelancing. Also worked with amazing people. So that was like uh, one of the most amazing jobs as well. I've been super fortunate to have amazing teams
Yeah,
work with. Even right now, I'm on a contract at Facebook, and the team is amazing.
that's awesome.
So it's. I think like I try to remember what each job has taught me and to apply that into
Hmm.
work I do freelance, because I think um, it may feel like it's just you, but you kind of have to take on the role of like um, someone else. So like Grace was the program manager or producer at Roguemark. And every time I'm sending an invoice, I'm like, okay, I gotta be Grace now. I gotta be Grace. I gotta make sure that I charge for all the time. I've got to make sure that I
Ah,
follow up. I got to make sure that I, keep checking in. So that's just something that helped me be good at what I do now.
wow. So how do you like invoice and charge right now? Like,
Oh, it's a process. I think there's so many more successful uh, freelancers out there who have books and guides. Um, so I would encourage everybody to read those. Those are supremely helpful. Um, I think what has been most helpful for me is um, to set a goal of how much money I need to make to live the life I'm living.
oh, that's
So
super cool.
so
That's very
so
like specific.
set like an ultimate goal is like, okay, I need to make I'm gonna use $10 as an arbitrary number. I need to make $10 to continue living where I live and to live like how I want to live and to enjoy doing what I want to do. And then once you have that goal, you can kind of work backwards to how much you need to charge per day. And that's kind of how you calculate your day rate. And then using your day rate, you can calculate like a project rate. For example, most illustration work is based on the whole project. So if if I'm talking to somebody about an illustration project, I kind of try to gauge how many days it's going to take me. And then based on that, I come up with a number. There's also super helpful resources online. There's a website called Black Box.
Black Box?
Black Box.
Cool.
That helps you. They have like a whole guide. Sorry, not Black Box. Lightbox.
Lightbox.
Lightbox. Litebox.
Okay.
So that website is kind of a repository of work that people have done, like illustrators and animators have entered in when they've worked with a company and how much they were paid or offered for that job and how much they negotiated and all of that. So say if you're looking to work with the New York Times, there's a bunch of artists who have put in what they were paid for different assignments. So when you're reaching out to somebody, or when when someone reaches out to you, you know that you can negotiate to up to this much, or you should at least expect this much, and kind of start to have that conversation so that you get paid what you need to get. Yeah.
Right. And then I know you have like a way to be able to increase your rate, right?
Yes. This is advice that another animator gave me, was to start at a day rate that I think is good, and then every time I get a new project, just increase it by $50 and see what happens. Really? If they say no, you're like, okay, cool, I'll negotiate back to what it was. So I started at $250, and then I was like 300, and then they say yes. So I was like 350. They said yes. And then 400, they were like, no. And so I was like, okay, 350. And then I would say like kind of do that every few months or every year, so that, you're kind of going up. And because as you make more work and as you get more experience, the value of your time is increasing. And the industry is not set up to help you realize that. Because companies and art directors, they all have budgets, and they would like to stick to their budgets and not change them. But the minute that you start asking for more, depending upon, your experience, how many years you've worked, they also know that they need to increase their budgets. So I think negotiating is super important. I was always scared to do so because I was afraid they were going to say no and find somebody else. But to be honest, if they have reached out to you, or even if you reached out to them, the fact that they're talking to you about this project means that they want to work with you. So it cannot hurt to just ask for what you want, and if they can't afford it, they will tell you, and then you can say, okay, I can do this. That's cool. We can find a middle ground. We can find an amount or a day rate that works for both parties.
That's really cool. I remember you were talking about rewarding yourself as well. And I thought that's so epic. It's super cool to like keep yourself engaged in like the next step, or like motivated. Anyway, I'll let you say the things instead of me filling in.
So this was kind of the thing that I was most afraid about, which was cold emailing. We talked about it already. I was super intimidated by that, and I did not want to send those emails. I just wanted to wait till somebody reached out to me and not do anything, which is not a good business plan. So to motivate myself, I would give myself incremental rewards. So if I send 10 emails, I get to go to Phil's and get coffee. Or I get to order takeout from this restaurant. If I send 100 emails in a month, I get new shoes.
Or I didn't say 100 cups of coffee.
No. You can do that too. But may not be good for you. But yeah, I just tried to uh, use things that I wanted
Mm-hmm.
and didn't feel like I wanted them like I didn't feel like they were like super important and treated them as rewards so
Mm-hmm.
that when I'm doing something, I know I'm working towards a goal.
Yeah.
And I know it was just I think it was a fun thing I did. I think the reward is on in also getting the work and working on these projects with people, but just like giving yourself a little reward, a little treat for uh doing a hard job and for
Yeah.
like reaching the end of your goal is important.
That's really cool. Yeah. So do you still keep up with that? Do you still do that right now? Or
I do that. I do
oh
that
yeah.
with taking time off. So
Oh,
I'm
best reward.
best reward, best reward. I give myself like um I mean with freelance I don't really have like weekends because I kind of work every day of the week or sometimes during weekends, sometimes during the week. It totally depends on deadlines on the project. So once I'm done with the project, I give myself a few days off now and try to go on a vacation, whatever form of vacation is possible in
I
COVID world.
know.
Um, but yeah, I think that's been my reward lately is to be able to lay on my couch and watch TV and play games on my Switch and FaceTime my parents for like hours on end.
Yes.
Um, FaceTime my dog. Uh,
You have a dog? I didn't know that.
I do. I do. I have a dog called named Ricky, and he lives with my parents
In Mumbai.
in Mumbai. Yes.
Oh, awesome. What
Yeah.
kind of dog is it? Is
He is a Labrador. He is almost 9, but he's a big cutie.
hmm That's awesome. I want to see a picture after this call. So we're getting to audience questions.
Ooh.
So hang on, let me see. Uh, can you explain your understanding and experience with freelance slash contract estimated taxes?
Oh, taxes are super hard. I'm just gonna start by saying that. So what I do is do estimated taxes. So how um, I understood this before was that you owe a certain amount of taxes to the government and they want to receive them incrementally throughout the year and not all at once at the end of the year. So when you're at a normal job, usually they take it out of your paycheck. And so incrementally, they're paying taxes on your behalf. So at every 3 months, you kind of do that. Um, you do that yourself, kind of like you are the company. So I think the way to calculate it, there's a whole worksheet that you can download from irs.com that will help you do that. But I think the summary is that you take the number that you made, take the amount of money you made last year, and you subtract all of the deductions that you can get, and then you divide it by 4 and pay off every quarter what you would pay at the end of the year. And then when you file your taxes at the end of the year, you just let them know. If you're doing it on TurboTax, then you let TurboTax know. If you're doing it through a CPA, you let them know that you paid this much already. And then usually you get a refund, which is super exciting. Um, but it's important to make sure you don't spend all the money you earn and kind of keep aside um, about 25% so that if you do owe taxes at the end of the year, you're not uh, unable to pay.
hmm hmm Thank you for that thorough answer. I learned so much just now. Okay, there's another question. There's going to be more, but
More taxes?
no, this is not tax related. What are your thoughts on specializing? I like so many different roles within animation slash illustration, storyboarding, After Effects, and animate. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I,
Do you pick any?
No. So this is super controversial because there are a lot of freelancers who recommend you specialize, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you know that you want to work a particular role at a particular in a particular industry, then go for that. I personally uh, did not feel like I wanted to do that. I want to work with on illustration and I want to work on animation. In animation, I like working in After Effects. I also love doing hand-drawn animation. So I did not want to not be able to do any of those things, basically. So I uh, try to make work. When I'm making personal work, I try to hit all of those interests. And because I'm interested in them, it doesn't feel like a huge burden. It's just something that I'm like, oh, I made this illustration. I'm going to animate it in After Effects. Or I made this illustration. I'm going to animate it by hand. And that just kind of helped me show that I can work in these forms. And then when I was reaching out to people, I had a different list for illustration. I had a different list for animation. And I had a different list for motion graphics, which is After Effects stuff. So I reached out to all of those companies and sent them relevant work that I had made. And I continue to want to work in all of those things. And I hope I continue to work in all those things. And maybe in a few years, if I feel like I want to focus in on one thing, I would do so. But I enjoy having a breadth of work, and I enjoy being able to do all of it.
That's awesome. Thank you for that answer as well. We have more coming in. Is it better to be flexible and know many different specialties or become a master of one thing?
This kind of relates to the previous.
Yeah, it's kind of like similar to the question before.
I would say it does depend on your personality. I feel like there are certain artists who are super focused people and they enjoy one thing a lot. Like a lot of 3D animators I know, they love to work in 3D and they do not want to work in anything else, which is super commendable. And the level of skill that they achieve because they're so dedicated is amazing. I get bored often, so I like to switch things up. So I like to go from illustrating to animating to storyboarding to doing all of that for a project. So I like to kind of keep doing different parts of the project and I think all of that ties to my ultimate goal, which is to be an animation director. So I think for me, being flexible is something that will lead me to my goal. Having experience in doing all of the breadth of work, I think will help me when I do get the chance to be an animation director. So yeah, I think it depends on your goals, but there's no wrong answer. There's like being flexible is not going to mean you're not going to get jobs, and being dedicated is not going to mean you're not going to get work. Like it's not like there's a right answer, otherwise I won't get work. Whichever one you choose, like you will find work. Even if you change, you will find work.
Awesome. Another one. I heard it's better to contact producers, or is it more of an East Coast thing? One viewer is asking.
Yes. I think for illustration, contact the art director. For animation, contact the producer or the program manager. That term changes. I also just contact art directors because a lot of the times in animation, art directors and animation directors they're designing the style. And so if they know of your work, sometimes they will keep you in mind. Like, okay, I'm working in this 2D textured style. Who are the artists that I know in this style? And so there's a possibility that you can get staffed that way as well. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to email a producer and an art director and a director. You may not get a response from a director maybe because, you know, they're super busy and they're managing so many roles. But I think email who you think will be able to help you and will be able to if nothing, just keep you in mind if there's ever a project.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wait. Is it better to charge hourly, a day rate, or per project?
I would say hourly rate has always gotten me in trouble. I do not do hourly rates because I do not want to focus on counting the time and then worrying about like, oh my God, it's going to take me 10 hours and we agreed upon 8 hours. Like, does this mean I'm not going to make what I wanted to make? Does this mean I'm going to charge too much? Like, to me, worrying about that always like affected the work. So I prefer project rates. Usually, I try to negotiate a project rate. Um, if that doesn't work out, which on a lot of animation studios they want a day rate, then I have calculated a day rate and I use that.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely do people ask for an hourly rate. Usually, if it's like if they want additional edits, or if they want you to, go back in an old project and change some things, then it's hourly rate. But I recommend day rate and project rate.
Nice. I love like definite answers. This is what I do. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because it's I totally agree because I've listened to a lot of podcasts that are like, oh, do what fits you, and it's like, well,
I don't know what fits me.
I don't know what fits you, and again, it's like it totally depends on your industry.
Uh-huh.
I know for animation, day rates is usually the standard, but if I could have it my way, I would just get a project rate. That's not possible, but you kind of have to, find a medium.
Cool. Okay. Is getting an agent worth it?
Oh, I do not have an agent. I have looked into getting an agent. It is on my to-do list. I don't think it is helpful for illustration. Personally, it hasn't not having an agent hasn't hindered my ability to find work. But it can help. Agents are super good at helping you find work and helping you get in touch with people that you wouldn't have normally gotten in touch with. I don't think it's like important though. Like, I think in everyone's freelance career, from what I have heard from people I've talked to, they start off on their own, and then after a certain point, they hit like a wall where they want to work with more clients but don't know how to reach them. I think at that stage, it can be helpful to look for an agent. The two industries where I think agents are extremely important is publishing. Publishing agents can help you negotiate your rate. They can help you get in contact with the right publisher if you have a pitch in mind, and they will always protect you. In editorial illustration or like kind of advertising illustration, I've heard of people having agents, but I do not know how helpful it is. I think it doesn't do harm. Mostly they help you negotiate up, which is always a good thing. But I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a good to have. And you can always find an agent later in your career. Like, it doesn't have to be the first thing you do. You can start off on your own, and then when you get to a point where you don't want to handle your finances, you don't want to handle negotiation, you can start looking for an agent.
Cool. We got a few more questions. So, in your experience, is it better to diversify your social media output?
I'm not a social media person. I kind of am one of those freelancers that has not put any time into developing my social media. I kind of just put personal work on there, personal news on there, sketches or something I worked on that I was excited about. I just put them on there. And I don't think it can hurt. I think I started a Twitter this year.
And this year.
This year, yeah, I know. but I've gotten a couple of jobs from there because there's a lot of art directors and publishing studios or houses that post like opportunities on their Twitter. So I just follow them, and if they ever post anything, I'm like, hey, like, I am Vrinda. This is my work. I would love to work with you. And that's kind of the extent of my outreach on social media. Having a lot of followers can be helpful, but you can be very successful without having a lot of followers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for that answer. And how do you avoid the feast and famine cycle of freelancing?
I do not avoid that. I enjoy that.
Oh.
I think it stressed me out a lot, and I hated it. At first, I would get like super stressed out when I had nothing to do. I would just feel like anxious, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm never going to get work again. And I always got work. So after like 2 or 3 times of having like those anxiety bouts, I realized that every time there's a famine, there's going to be a feast. Like eventually you will find something because you're sending out emails, you're putting out work, you're sharing your personal work, you're doing things. So all of that is going to lead to work. It may not be immediately, but it's going to happen. So I try to use the famine time to take time off, to indulge in other activities like gardening. I'm growing some onions right now.
Nice.
To, playing video games, to sketching, making personal work. Also, continue sending out emails, continue reaching out to people, continue hitting up artists that you admire and asking to grab coffee. Keep doing all of those things, and you will find work. I think stressing about it usually made me want to not do anything. I would just kind of lay in bed like stressed out, which is not helpful. So do other things, use that time for yourself, and you will find work.
That's awesome. I'm really, impressed that, finally there is somebody on the planet who gives the answer of how do you find clients? It's such a mysterious question. And always the answer is like, I don't know, network. And for you, it's like, no, you do this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
And
I think basically what I said is what people talk about when they say networking, but they don't break it down for you. They just like, oh, just like network and like reach out to people. But it's like, it's good to know that there's like, you can set up a plan for yourself. You can set up a way to reach out to people and have that definitive way of networking that works for you. Some people enjoy going to conferences. I mean, it's not possible anymore, but when it was possible, I know that I do not do well at conferences. So what I focus on is like trying to talk to people like on like virtually like this, like talking to you, like getting to know you was super, super fun. And like doing that with people you admire and doing that with people you want to work with is not going to hurt. It's only going to help.
So cool. Yeah. Okay. 2 more questions. What are the books that you recommend on freelancing?
Ooh, only one comes to mind, but Company of One. Company of One is an amazing.
I heard of that.
I'm just gonna quickly look up who the author is. Paul Jarvis. That is the name of the author. Paul Jarvis, Company of One. He is an amazing writer, and he also is a freelancer. So he started off as a designer, a web designer, and he was freelancing, and then he has started his own company and a bunch of other stuff. And he also has a weekly newsletter that is super cool. So I came across that book on Goodreads. It was like recommended as a small business owner thing. And it was amazing. It is amazing. It kind of helps you like understand what it means to be a company of one and all the benefits of doing so. Like, I think every time I read it, it gets me super excited about what I do, which is like working for yourself. Even if I'm working even when I am working at a job, like my contract at Facebook, like wherever you are working, it helps you understand your role in the company and how you can contribute positively. Um, I think that's like I kind of like randomly read it like every few months. Um, and his newsletters are also like excellent.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
Paul Jarvis, Company of One, and his newsletters that you
His
signed up
newsletter,
for.
yeah. There are many other books. I cannot think of them right now,
That's okay.
but just you know look at Goodreads. Goodreads has great recommendations. Um, Company of One would be my personal recommendation.
That's awesome. All right, we have one last question that I think, it's a very good question. What words of encouragement would you give to students and up-and-coming professionals who are pursuing their passion? I'm getting ready for that one too.
I don't know. I don't know if I have. I don't really have wise words. I would say like get out of your own way. That's like been super helpful for me. Reach out to people, talk to them, and it'll all work out. Like you will find work. I think the stress of. I mean, I think what I will add is that like I haven't always had work. I've had months where haven't had work. I've had like earlier this year there was like 3 months where I had no project I was working on, and so I totally understand the stress and anxiety of freelancing. But if you enjoy the perks of this job lifestyle, and if you want to pursue it, just know that you will be okay. You will find work. It always works out eventually. You will make better and better work, and that will help you work with clients you want to work with, and eventually that will help you reach your goals. So just keep doing it. Keep doing a version of it. Um, whether you want to do it like while you're at another job or just do it full time, like keep doing it.
That's really cool.
It will work out.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So you're someone who, made her dream come true. Can I say that? Like you've made your dream come true, right?
I mean, not all my dreams, but one of my dreams. I mean, once you achieve like what you want to achieve, you have more things you want to achieve. So that
That's
never
right.
ends. Like earlier this year, my goal was to have consistent work. Now I'm at a point where I have consistent work. So now I have other dreams. So that keeps changing. But I think it's important to celebrate meeting those goals, and it is important to keep having more goals because then you keep doing all the things you want to do.
I know, totally. It's so true for me too. I feel like every time I achieve a dream, a goal, I'm like, wait, that's just the beginning. And all of a sudden, it's like the sky is the limit. And the more words of encouragement I hear, the more I need to hear from myself. Even I have to like keep telling myself, it's like, no, you're doing enough. Just calm down. like just one thing at a time. I feel like it's something that we have to remind ourselves, especially during these, during these weird times where the bare minimum we can ask for right now is like, hey, can we stay alive, please, for like
I
2 seconds? Can we make it through this?
I'm a super impatient person, so like I want everything now. Like I want to do everything now, and I have to remind myself that I have like my entire life to do everything. Like I can't expect it all to happen right now. So there's that too. Like if you're not making the work you want to make right now, the exciting part is that you have so much time to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I didn't think about that. There's all this time we still have.
All this time we still have.
Well, Vrinda, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you, everyone, for listening and, being a part of this. And that's the end of our Q&A. So thanks for being here for the 7th episode. And please subscribe to this channel and our social media for future videos. And we'll see you next time.
Like button.
We'll see you next time.